3 6-minute sort of segments, and felt good. And he told me it was another checkpoint to hit, and he's optimistic that he'll play on Saturday, but that we'll have to reevaluate tomorrow to see how his foot responds overnight. But right now things are looking good. His conditioning's good. Good for him to get out there and play because the speed of the game, and he's got to feel all that stuff and get some rust off. But good day overall.
And it's limit restriction.
Today, yes, there was an 18-minute restriction in today's scrimmage.
Do you think you will have a minutes restriction?
Yeah.
It's been.
I don't know. I don't know what the number is, but he's not playing 30, 35 minutes.
Do you think that could affect if he starts or comes off the bench? You brought him off the bench, I think, in Portland, right? Is that right? When he came back?
Yeah. That was when I was young and dumb. Of course, now I'm just old and dumb. So I haven't talked to him about it. That would be a discussion for tomorrow. Like if we deem that he is going to play, then that's when we'll figure out rotations and all that stuff.
Just going with the optimism that Steph will be available for game one. It'll be about a month of missed time. And we know that he's an incredible athlete, but do you think Steph will have any challenges coming back, dropping right into the playoffs?
Yeah, of course he'll have challenges like anybody would. But he's such a diligent worker. He's been working so hard on his conditioning and his rhythm, the last couple of weeks. His conditioning looks good. I'd be more concerned about just timing. Anytime you have an absence, you gotta shake off some cobwebs, and I think we'll just take it a day at a time and see where it all goes.
Are you at a point where you are comfortable in thinking that you could have the 4 vets together for the first time this season? Are you at that point yet where you're saying, okay, this is going to happen, or you're still not there yet?
Meaning Andre and Draymonds.
Draymond, Steph, and Clay.
Yeah, I think it looks like for the first time it would happen, but still, 48 hours, 52 hours, whatever it is, till the game. So it would be really nice, to get them on the floor together, but we'll see.
How much do you not want to, or do you want to overburden Draymond with the Jokic assignment in this series? Theoretically, you could have him out there 20-something minutes, but do you not want to do that?
Well, the way I look at it, the primary defenders on Jokic, we know this will be Loon and Draymond. And so beyond that, we have options. Belly has guarded him before. We can try different things defensively, but Draymond's going to guard him quite a bit for sure. And then we just have to see how things are going and make our adjustments from there.
I guess more my question than if you're chasing this particular win with Draymond, will you try to look at the bigger picture of the entire playoffs? And obviously he's not that far removed from an injury and maybe not one to just bury him and at the 5 minutes as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything that would jeopardize, Draymond's health for sure. That'll be a conversation with the training staff, but at this point, he's beyond the injury. I thought he broke through from a conditioning standpoint in our last couple of games. His energy, the force with which he played was really impressive. He looks like Draymond again to me. So with that said, we got to win the game. We're not looking at anything other than beating Denver in the series. Whatever it takes to beat Denver in the series, that's what we're going to do. And how much everybody plays, it will be determined by how effective lineups are. And, you know, are there injuries? Are there matchups that we like, that we don't like? We throw all that into a pot and try to figure out the best solution.
So over the course of the regular season, for a lot of reasons, you know, you had guys coming in and out of the lineup with injuries. You had a lot of youth. It seemed like you had a fairly liberal leash when guys would make mistakes. Playoffs, does that change?
Changes a little bit. I mean, I've never been a coach to yank a guy when he makes a mistake. You know, I don't believe that that's a great form of coaching. So I've always believed in, you know, letting guys have some freedom, some rope. If they make a mistake, you know, tell them about it, explain what they need to do better, and putting them back out there. Now, what changes in the playoffs is if things are not going well for the team, then you make whatever substitution you have to make to get the game heading in the right direction again. And so things do change in that regard. So it's not so much if a guy makes a mistake. It's more how the game is looking and how the five-man combination is looking.
I guess I'm also wondering is, especially early in the game, you know, what I call the pop timeout, where it could be a minute into the game. If you don't like something, you call a timeout. Is that more likely to happen now?
Yes.
Steve, we've all seen like how GP2 plays, and he makes a lot of sense when there's a really dominant perimeter player. How do you use him in a series like this where there isn't that one particular guy, but, you know, there's a lot of guys you could kind of throw him on because of his versatility? How do you see him factoring in the series?
Well, Gary has been really good for us no matter what this year, whether he's specifically had to guard, you know, a Devin Booker type player, or Chris Paul, or just, you know, in a matchup where there's not an obvious guy for him to guard. It doesn't seem to matter. He makes positive impacts in every game. So, you know, he'll be on the floor, and we'll have different matchups. There could be some switching where he's guarding different guys. But as I said, he seems to be effective in an unorthodox way, no matter who's out there, no matter who he's guarding. So he'll be on the floor. I think we tried that once earlier in the year. Yeah.
So one of the differences in the playoffs is you play the same team consecutive games. And kind of piggybacking on what Monty was talking about, you have time to prepare. You've got this time to prepare now, but how willing are you to change things up as the playoff goes on and say, okay, we thought this was going to work, but this matchup is not going to work?
Yeah, you have to be willing to do that every single game, you know, and I think every team is different. You know, if this were 5 years ago, I'd be more likely to stay with something for longer because we knew exactly who we were, what our best lineups were. We didn't have to sort of, you know, after half a game or, you know, one loss, we didn't have to say, oh boy, we better make a change. This is different. You know, we've got a team that's much less clearly defined, with all the injuries that we've had and absences. We just, we're going to be playing combinations that haven't played together at all year. So that makes it much more kind of spur of the moment, you know, on the fly decision making. And it's tricky, but it's also a lot of fun. And it's great that we've, you know, finally have, knock on wood, you know, some guys coming back and coming together to put out there together.
So just to put some words in your mouth here, would it be fair to say you'll be kind of feeling out the lineups and the matchups as the series goes on? Yeah,
I think so. You go in with an idea of what you want to do, and you adjust from there. And the difference this year compared to past years is we have to be ready to adjust quicker. And the tricky part is in normal circumstances, you want a big enough sample size to experiment with a lineup. And that's what you do in the regular season. You give a lineup, 4 or 5 games at least before you make a decision, sometimes more. Playoffs, you don't have that luxury.
We spent a lot of time in the second half of the season talking about some of the repeated mistakes, defensive lapses, backdoor cuts, open threes, and things like that. As the season wound down, you won 5 in a row. This week, these past few days, how much time has still been spent on talking about focus and concentration and, remembering what you see on the scouting report and in video?
A lot. It's a big area of focus is just understanding personnel, understanding coverages. What are we in defensively? What's your role? What are our keys to the series? What are the non-negotiables that we have to abide by, regardless of our schemes? All that stuff factors in. And what's interesting with this team is we've got a group of guys who are championship tested and have felt it all. And we got some young guys who this is going to be brand new for. And so I really am excited about the challenge. I think I've told the players they need to work together. The older guys need to help the younger guys. The younger guys need to rely on the older guys. And within that, understand there's going to be frustration. We're going to fall behind. We're going to have foul trouble. We're going to, face a deficit where things aren't going well. We're going to have to adjust on the fly. Is this team capable of playing through that? That's what the playoffs are all about.
The fact that, especially in the second half of the season, there were a lot of games where you guys were plagued by these slow starts. You fall behind early and have to catch up. Is that something that still nags at you, or do you feel like you guys are kind of moved away from that?
I think we're going to be all right on that front. These last couple of months have been a little chaotic, just with all the absences. But I feel like the last couple of weeks we've built some confidence, some continuity. Hopefully, getting Steph back, would add to that. Hopefully we will get him back, in which case, you have a much better chance of withstanding lulls, scoring lulls. And so, I feel good about it. I feel excited about it, with full awareness that it's not going to be easy.
So this is the first time this entire season, potentially, that the team is going to be close to full strength, besides James Wiseman. How do you think that's just going to change the team dynamic, or kind of give like a boost to everything, heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there's a confidence that the whole team gets when Steph is playing. And then I think there's a confidence that comes with the continuity and the familiarity of groups that have been together and been through a lot of playoff experiences together. So I think all of that bodes well. But again, this is a different team, and every team has to grow together. Andre said it a few weeks ago, but this could be one of those playoff runs where our team has to grow within a series to get where we need to be, to get to a level we haven't gotten to yet this year. And that's kind of the fun part.
How do you navigate that, though? Because obviously mistakes at this stage are amplified. And so if you're learning to grow in the moment, how do you just, navigate that and work through that?
So growth in my mind would be, all right, we're making these mistakes and things aren't going well. And we show the tape and we stop making those mistakes. That's the growth. And it sounds simple, but it really is that simple in terms of how a team grows. Basketball is a game of mistakes, but it's at its highest level, it's a game of limiting mistakes. Can you make fewer mistakes than your opponent? Can you follow your game plan? Can you force the shots that you want to give up to your opponent? Can you force those to be taken? Or are you allowing them to get to their sweet spots? Are you making the same mistakes over and over? The growth will show in those areas.
They changed one of the games when they played against you when they hacked Looney in the fourth. Have you guys talked about that game and potentially that strategy they might use?
Sure. Yeah. It's always a possibility.
How much, I guess, when you think about that strategy is like sticking with your players, trusting them to make free throws or in some ways allowing that to kind of alter your rotation?
Well, you have to factor in who's available, what's going on at the time. So every situation is different. I've done both where I've taken players out when they've been hacked, or I've kept them in, and to me, the circumstances dictate that.
Steve, Steph has a history of returning really strong from injuries. What specifically about him makes him so good at coming off of injuries? What does he do in his rehab? Is there anything you've noticed?
It's just who he is on a human level. It's the wealth of expertise he's built, the confidence that he's built over time, his willingness to be in the training room, doing his work on a daily basis, maintaining his conditioning. A lot of guys, if they scrimmaged 18 minutes after being out a month, would get winded after 2 minutes. Steph is in such great shape. He has such an incredible foundation of conditioning that he's able to maintain his wind even during his absences. And he does things that allow him to do that, whether it's riding the bike or, running on the treadmill in the pool, whatever it takes, he does. And so with that comes a belief and a confidence in what he's doing that is, almost unrivaled. So that when he does go back out there, he just thinks he's going to be great, and he is.
And because of all that, I'm guessing that's part of why the training staff felt comfortable letting him have a relatively quick ramp up, going from just individual on-court work to a 5-on-5 scrimmage.
Yes.
Pretty quickly. That's probably not something like the average player could do, right?
Yeah, every circumstance is different, but the fact that Steph has this foundation of strength and conditioning as his, kind of basis as a player, that stuff doesn't go away, from being out for a month. If you had a rookie who, had a similar injury and he didn't have that foundation of strength and conditioning, you'd probably ramp him up slower.
Well, what do you enjoy about having Mike Brown on your staff? And this time of year, how does he help you guys with the defensive masterminding?
I love Mike because he's a joy to be around. Every day it's just fun. He's got a great sense of humor. He can laugh at himself. So he's a great team member. Everybody on the staff loves him. And he's also really bright. He comes in, he's got great ideas. He's convicted. When he believes something, he really believes it. But he also knows, having been in my shoes as a head coach, as a former head coach, he understands what I'm going through, and that ultimately, whatever decision I make, the whole staff has to rally around. Doesn't mean they have to agree, but we have to be able to discuss things and settle on a solution, and then everybody moves forward. And so Mike understands that process better than anybody because he's been a head coach. So he's an amazing coach, an amazing human being, and we're lucky to have him.
All right, let's do a couple on Zoom real quick. It's a big series. We got Jared Greenberg. Jared, go ahead.
Thank you, Raymond. Coach, with all the injuries that you keep on referring to that you've had this year that have triggered so much instability, has that at all allowed you to waver what your expectations for this playoff run may or may not be?
It's a good question. I think this has been a really interesting season, I think it was set up to be really interesting even without any injuries. We've taken on a really fun, interesting challenge of you got this core group of championship tested veterans, and then you've got this exciting crop of young players, with Jordan and Moses, JK, James Wiseman, although he's not playing obviously, but putting that together, there's going to be a lot of unknown. And so for me, the expectations are completely different. I think 3-4 years ago with, you got KD, Steph, and Clay on your team and Draymond, it's like, I'm expecting you to win the championship. But we're a different team now. So I don't have expectations. I'm not going into these playoffs thinking, all right, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. I'm just thinking, how can we beat Denver tomorrow or Saturday and move on to game 2? And in a lot of ways makes it really fun. Maybe not as much fun as having one of the greatest rosters ever assembled, but it's a completely different challenge and unique. And the main thing is I love all these guys and I love seeing them every day and I love working with them. And it's a fun team to coach.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Mark Medina. Go ahead, Mark.
Steve, good to see you. When you look at Jordan Poole's ongoing development, what do you think has gone into his ability this season to adjust to, the different injuries with Clay and Steph being out of the lineup and how that affects his role?
Just great confidence. He really believes in himself, and no matter what the role is, he's going to be out there attacking, and he's going to play aggressively, and that's what we want him to do. So it's been fun coaching Jordan. He's he's a young guy, so there's still a lot of growth ahead, and there's still plenty of frustration for him. Going through all this stuff, still got a lot to learn, but he listens. When I watch tape with him, when I talk to him, he listens and he gets better, and that's all you really want, as a coach.
All right, one final one. Go ahead, Maria.
Hi, Steve. Hope you're well. You were just talking about a different group, and you have a unique combination of young and veterans on your team. So I was wondering, how do you help your guys handle their emotions and improve their mentality to keep both the vets and the young ones on the same page?
Yeah, it's really, about the discussions that we have in preparation. That's where the playoffs are so different from the regular season. You actually have time to have those discussions. You're not rushing to the next shoot around and preparing for, the next game after that. You have, we've had 4 days now, but, between our last game and right now, and we got 2 more. So there's a lot of time to have those discussions, and you get the team together, and the older guys talk about expectations and how to handle the playoffs, and the younger guys listen, and that's the way we do it.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll have a